Are electric cars really as green as we think? Or are we just trading tailpipe emissions for a whole new set of environmental problems? On today's episode, we're pulling back the curtain on EV evolution and uncovering the hidden cost of going electric. Did you see where people are graffitiing Elon Musk Teslas in the US and Canada? I hope this has everything to do with Elon Musk being the right-hand man of Donald Trump. Yikes. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Alberta Blue Collar Podcast, the podcast where we're going to dive deep in the exciting and sometimes complex world of sustainable transportation. I'm your host, Papafuzzy, and today we're tackling a question that's on the majority of Albertans' minds. Electric vehicles versus gas vehicles. Are EVs really as green as they say they are? Or are we just trading one set of environmental problems for another? Grab your coffee, throw on those earbuds, and let's get at it. Because we're about to embark on a journey to uncover the truth behind electric versus gas debate. Let's start with the shiny new kid on the block, the electric vehicle. Picture this. You glide silently through the city streets, leaving no trace of exhaust fumes in your wake. No more rumbling engines. No more contributing to a thick city fog. It's a futuristic dream, isn't it? And in many ways, that dream is becoming reality. Electric vehicles offer a tantalizing glimpse into the cleaner, quieter future for our cities and our planet. Before we get carried away with electric enthusiasm, let's take a closer look at the bigger picture. Building these technological marvels isn't as simple as plugging them into a wall socket. It requires a complex and often resource-intense process, starting with the heart of the EV, the battery. Those powerful batteries that propel EVs down the road rely on a cocktail of precious metals. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, magnesium, just to name a few. And obtaining these metals requires mining, an industry that, well, let's be honest, doesn't exactly have a pristine environmental track record. Imagine vast open pit mines digging into the earth, displacing wildlife, and generating dust and pollution. Think of the water pollution from mining runoff, contaminating rivers and streams. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And even the process of extracting and refining these metals requires significant energy, often generated from fossil fuels, ironically contributing to the very problem EVs are supposed to solve. It's a bit like baking a delicious cake, right? Nice and healthy. A great, fantastic end result. But there's a whole lot of mess to clean up after it. And then there's that question of where that electricity comes from. If your EV is powered by electricity generated from burning coal, you're essentially just shifting the pollution from your tailpipe to a power plant smokestack. It's like a fancy reusable straw to drink from the same Coca-Cola. To truly unlock the environmental benefits of EV, we need clean energy evolutions. We need to power our electric grids with renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydro. Only then can we say with confidence that our EVs are truly running on clean energy. But then you have to think. The primary metals used in a solar panel include aluminum, steel, copper, silver, zinc. Aluminum or steel often composes the racks and support systems for those solar panels. Where do you think that stuff comes from? Wind turbines contain aluminum and copper. Again, where do you think that comes from? And what about those batteries? When they reach the end of their lifespan, we can't just throw them into the landfill. Battery recycling is essential. But technology is still evolving to recycle these batteries. We need efficient and sustainable recycling processes to prevent a mountain of battery waste from piling up. Now let's shift gears and talk about the trusty gasoline-powered vehicle. These internal combustion engine vehicles have been a dominant force on our roads for like a century, maybe even more. And they will be for a long time to come, in my opinion. Okay, so I've gotten CO poisoning, which is carbon monoxide, when I was pipelining with large equipment back in the day when I was pipelining. And I've got it about 6 times. I was hospitalized twice for oxygen. So I started wearing a small CO detector around my neck and back. Back then, I owned a 2006 diesel Ford F-350 with a 6.0 liter engine. I pulled the cat off, and I was running straight pipe. I also had a 2013 F-250 with a 6.2 liter engine with all its parts. So I thought one day, I'm going to put that CO tester at the end of the tailpipe of the F-350, and then I'm going to do it to the 250. So I go down to the 350, and he's 100% CO emissions. I go over to the 250, 0. And that just shows you how much the catalytic converter stops emissions from coming out of the tailpipe. So to me, vehicles nowadays don't put out much CO. So that's carbon monoxide, all right? You know, if my 2013 is putting out 0, nowadays, in 2025, these things are essentially putting out nothing either, right? But we're talking about CO2, and we're going to get into that in a second. These vehicles that have been on the road for a long time have taken us all over the place, thousands of miles to different places. And I look back, do I say to myself, gosh, I wish I had an EV back then? I don't know. You know, did you see what happened to that guy on social media? He was on there. We had that big snowstorm in the States. Remember a couple of weeks ago or a month ago or something in 2025 in the winter. And all the snow got cleaned up. I don't know if it was in Boston or where it was. Anyway, mid-United States somewhere. Anyway, so this guy, he's driving down the road with his phone out, taking a video of all the EVs that are lined up on the side of the road. And he had a little quote there. Is this where you want to be? Or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you guys seen it. Anyway, I was just thinking, okay, so if you get in a snowstorm and you can't go anywhere for 5, 6, 10, 12 hours, even a day, what's going to happen? As soon as you turn the heat on in that car, it burns energy. Oh, my ass is cold. I'm going to turn on the heat seater or the heat, the seat heater. Yeah, that burns up energy, right? Everything you do to an EV, I don't care if you put heavy luggage in it, 2 dogs in it. Doesn't matter what kind of weight you put in. Any weight you put in an EV is going to pull power away from that battery, and they are not designed for that. They're not designed for hills. They're not designed for mountains. Say you want to take a trip to Vancouver from Calgary in the cold. I know someone has done that. Yeah, not very fun. You got to know where your charging stations are, and you better hope those charging stations are working and not broken when you get there. right? If they're broken, you better find out what you got to do, because I'll tell you what, you ain't going to go down the street and say, hey, can I plug my car into your house because I need an hour of charge to get to the next station? Yeah, you're going to get shot or something, right? But I'll tell you what, anyway, you think about that when you buy an EV. It can happen in Alberta, which it does. Freak storms, or maybe even an accident where you can't get off the highway and you got to sit there for 4 or 5 hours. And, oh, geez, I forgot to charge this thing last night. Am I going to run out of electricity or power before I get to work or wherever I'm going? You got to think, you got to plan, you got to do everything with an EV before you leave your house. That's if you're going, if you go back and forth to work, you know exactly what you're doing, right? 5 minutes to work, 10 minutes to work, there and back. Yeah, okay, great. All good. But I'll tell you what, I ain't going to do it. Anyhow, every time I turn the key on and I hear engine start up, I know that I'm putting something out in the environment. I get that. I'm releasing some kind of pollution directly into the air that we all breathe. Okay? CO2, carbon dioxide, not monoxide. The main culprit behind climate change, they say. Now they say carbon dioxide, which is CO2. The gas naturally produced by animals, cows, whatever, during respiration and through decay of biomass, contribute higher levels of CO2 than normal vehicles. That's what I say. Catalytic converters. They're doing a great job. CO2 produces nitrogen oxide, which contributes to smog, acid rain, particulate matter, tiny particles that can penetrate into your lungs and respiratory system, and that's why they have smog alerts in the city, right? I come over, I'm outside of Calgary, and I a hill, and boom, I see a layer of fog over top the city. Okay, so that's where your pollution sits, right? It can't get anywhere if there's no wind, so it just sits there. It's not exactly a recipe for clean air and healthy lungs. But they say, whoever they are, Alberta as a whole eats up more CO2 than anywhere in the world, other than the Amazon rainforest because of its vast trees, right? But we have a vastness of trees, nature, farm crops in the spring, summer, fall. Canada as a whole only contributes 1.4% of global greenhouse gases. So why are we taxed the most? All right, let's talk a little bit about the sources of gasoline. Bitumen, aka crude oil. Extracting oil from the ground is messy. It's often involved in sensitive ecosystems. Even transporting that oil across great distances in tankers, throwing it through pipelines, carries a risk of spills, devastating environmental disasters that can pollute our oceans and coastlines. It does happen. And then there's the refining process, transforming crude oil into gas, which also generates pollution, of course, consumes significant energy. It's a complex and often environmentally damaging process from start to finish. This oil business is good for Alberta and its citizens, thanks to the royalty program that is set up. So where does this leave us? Which is worse for the environment? the electric vehicle with its battery baggage, and which needs fuel made from crude oil to be manufactured, or the gasoline car with its tailpipe emissions? It's a complex question without a simple answer. It's like choosing between two slightly bruised apples. The gasoline car is the apple with a big, obvious bruise. That constant stream of tailpipe pollution, but making a better, clean gasoline burning engine every year. The EV, on the other hand, has a few smaller bruises. Battery production, electricity source, recycling challenges, but will never be made without fuel-burning machines and equipment. The good news is that those EV bruises are getting smaller. Advancements in battery technology are reducing reliance on problematic materials and improving energy density. Recycling technologies are becoming more efficient, recovering valuable materials and preventing waste. And, perhaps most importantly, the transition to cleaner energy sources may be underway. As our electricity grids become greener, powered by solar, wind, and other renewables, water, the environmental benefits of EVs become even clearer. But I still won't put an EV under my wife's ass. I don't need a phone call saying, "Come get me, dear. The battery is dead." Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. The future of transportation isn't about simply swapping one type of vehicle for another. It's about creating a holistic, sustainable system and your situation of what type of vehicle would be good for you and in your travels. It's about minimizing those environmental bruises, making both apples healthier, and paving the way to a cleaner, greener future for all, and finding a charging station, which is far and few between, versus a gas station, which are everywhere. All right, y'all. That's all for today. All right, I'm going to do an episode where I've cloned my voice, and I want you guys to comment on how it sounds. I want your input on everything that can break it down and tell me that it's shit or good or whatever. Too fast, too slow, doesn't sound like you. You know how it goes, right? But hey, we're going to do that episode in the future here coming up. But for next episode, we're going to talk about the farmers and China. Okay, we've got some devastating tariffs that have happened. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we're going to try and nail somebody down to talk about that and see what their thoughts are in the next episode. So if you've got some questions and whatever have you for the next episode, comment somewhere, whether it be YouTube or Spotify, and let me know what you think. But hey, make sure you guys subscribe and follow and like and all that kind of stuff if you like my content and the way I'm putting it out. I know I'm a little bit boring, but hey, I get across what I got to say. And that's the idea of speaking in your mind and getting it out there, right? So, yeah. All right. Take care. Papafuzzy out.